The massive ship called New Horizons sat in Earth's orbit like a metal city floating in space. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge looking out at the stars and thinking about the long journey ahead. 50,000 people were getting ready to leave Earth forever and start a new life on a planet called Kepler 442b. Jake had been a space captain for 20 years, but this was the biggest mission of his life. Down in the science labs, Dr. Lisa Parker was checking her equipment one more time. She had spent 5 years preparing for this trip, and her job was to study any life they might find on the new planet. Lisa loved her work, and she was excited to see what waited for them among the stars. She had no idea that someone was already watching her work and planning to stop them all. The Zephyrian Collective had been ruling parts of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They did not like it when new species tried to spread to other worlds. The Zephyrians thought humans were dangerous because they learned fast and never gave up when things got hard. Their leader had decided that humanity must never leave their home system. A Zephyrian spy had been living on Earth for 3 months using technology that made him look exactly like a human. His name was difficult to say in human language, so the Earth people called him Alex when he got a job working on the New Horizon. Nobody knew he was really an alien who had come to destroy their dreams of reaching the stars. Alex worked in the lower levels of the ship, where the big fusion reactor provided power for everything. He was very good at his job, and the human workers liked him. They thought he was just another engineer who wanted to help build a better future. Alex felt bad about lying to these people, but he believed his mission was important for keeping peace in the galaxy. The device Alex brought with him was small enough to fit in his hand, but it contained technology that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. The Zephyrians called it a quantum cascade generator, and it was designed to do 2 terrible things. First, it would destroy the New Horizon when they were far from Earth with no chance of rescue. Second, it would send out a special signal that would let the Zephyrians track and destroy any other human ships that tried to leave Earth in the future. Ryan Tucker was the chief engineer, and he spent most of his time making sure every system on the ship worked perfectly. Ryan was the kind of person who could fix anything, and he loved solving problems that other people thought were impossible. He often worked late into the night because he wanted everything to be perfect for the long journey ahead. Sophie Blake was in charge of security for the entire ship. She had been a soldier before becoming a space officer, and she was very good at protecting people. Sophie checked every person who came aboard and made sure no weapons or dangerous items got onto the ship. She was careful and smart, but she had never seen technology like what Alex was carrying. The last few days before launch were very busy. Families said goodbye to friends and relatives they would never see again. Children were excited about living on a new world while their parents worried about all the things that could go wrong. The ship had everything they needed to start a new civilization, including factories to make tools and machines to grow food. Alex waited until the night before launch to install his device. He went down to the reactor room when most people were sleeping and carefully attached the quantum cascade generator to the main power system. The device looked like a normal piece of equipment, and it would not activate until the ship was deep in space, far from any help. The device was programmed to start working exactly 3 months after they left Earth. By then, the New Horizon would be so far away that even their fastest radio signals would take years to reach home. The Zephyrians had planned everything very carefully, and they were sure their plan would work perfectly. Captain Jake Morrison made his final speech to the crew and passengers the morning they were supposed to leave. He talked about courage and hope and the great adventure they were starting together. Jake did not know that hidden in his ship was a weapon that could end human space travel forever. The launch went exactly as planned. Huge engines pushed the New Horizon away from Earth and toward the stars. People cheered and cried as they watched their home planet get smaller and smaller behind them. Children pressed their faces against windows to get one last look at the blue world where their species had lived for millions of years. Alex stood with the other crew members and pretended to be happy about leaving Earth. Inside, he felt terrible. about what he had done, but he told himself it was necessary. The Zephyrians had taught him that young species like humans always caused trouble when they spread across the galaxy. He believed he was preventing a war that could kill billions of people. The New Horizon moved faster and faster as it left the solar system behind. In 3 months, the quantum cascade device would activate and the ship would be destroyed. The Zephyrians would then make sure that humans never tried to build another ship like this one. Alex thought his mission was almost complete, but he had no idea how wrong he was about human nature. 3 months had passed since the New Horizon left Earth, and life aboard the great ship had settled into a steady routine. Children went to school in classrooms that looked out at the stars while their parents worked in labs and factories preparing for their new life. The ship was like a small city floating through space, and most people were happy with their new home. Dr. Lisa Parker spent her days studying samples and data they had collected during the journey. She was looking forward to reaching their destination, but she also enjoyed the work she was doing right now. Lisa had set up sensors all around the ship to monitor everything from air quality to radiation levels. She wanted to make sure the long journey was not harming anyone. It was during one of her routine checks that Lisa noticed something strange. Her instruments were detecting unusual energy patterns coming from the reactor area. The readings did not match anything in her computer files, and they seemed to be getting stronger each day. Lisa thought there might be a problem with her equipment, so she ran the tests again. The second set of readings showed the same mysterious energy signatures. Lisa frowned as she looked at the data on her screen. She had never seen anything like this before, and it was making her worried. The energy patterns were very complex, and they seemed to be following some kind of countdown sequence. Lisa decided to take her findings to Ryan Tucker since he knew more about the ship's power systems than anyone else. She found Ryan in the main engineering section working on a minor repair to one of the air recycling units. Ryan was always busy fixing something because a ship this size needed constant attention. When Lisa showed Ryan her data, he stopped what he was doing and looked at the readings very carefully. Ryan had worked with fusion reactors for 15 years, and he knew exactly how they were supposed to behave. The energy patterns Lisa had found were definitely not normal, and they were definitely not part of the ship's original design. Ryan and Lisa went down to the reactor room together to investigate. They used portable scanners to check every piece of equipment and every connection. It took them several hours, but they finally found what they were looking for. Hidden among the normal reactor components was a device that did not belong there. The device was about the size of a lunchbox, and it was connected to the main power flow in a very clever way. Someone had designed it to look like a normal part of the ship's systems, but Ryan could tell it was something completely different. The device was made from materials he had never seen before, and it was generating the strange energy patterns that Lisa had detected. Lisa and Ryan immediately called Captain Jake Morrison and told him about their discovery. Jake arrived at the reactor room within minutes, along with Sophie Blake and several other senior officers. When they saw the unknown device, everyone understood that they were dealing with something very serious. Sophie Blake had seen many different types of weapons and explosives during her military career, but this device was unlike anything she had ever encountered. The technology was clearly more advanced than anything humans had built, and that meant it probably came from somewhere else. Sophie realized they were looking at alien technology, and that thought made her very afraid. Ryan tried to scan the device more carefully, but every time his instruments got too close, the device seemed to react. Strange lights flickered across its surface, and the energy readings spiked dramatically. Ryan backed away quickly because he was afraid of triggering whatever the device was supposed to do. Captain Jake Morrison made the decision to evacuate everyone from the reactor area while they figured out what to do next. The reactor was too important to shut down because they needed power for life support and navigation, but having an unknown alien device attached to their main power system was extremely dangerous. Dr. Lisa Parker worked through the night analyzing every piece of data she could gather about the mysterious device. She compared the energy signatures to everything in the ship's computer database but found no matches. The technology was completely foreign and far more sophisticated than anything humans had developed. By morning, Lisa had made a terrifying discovery. The device was not just connected to the power system, it was actually drawing energy from the reactor and storing it in some kind of internal battery. The stored energy was building up according to a very precise schedule, and Lisa calculated that it would reach maximum capacity in exactly 3 days. Ryan Tucker had been studying the device from a safe distance, and he had figured out something even worse. The alien technology was not just storing energy, it was also sending out very faint signals into space. The signals were too weak to detect unless you knew exactly what to look for, but they were definitely there. When the senior officers met to discuss their situation, everyone was scared and angry. Someone had sabotaged their ship with alien technology, and they were millions of miles from Earth with no way to get help. The device was too dangerous to remove and too mysterious to understand. Sophie Blake was the first to say what everyone was thinking. The sabotage had been planned by aliens who did not want humans to reach other planets. The device was probably meant to destroy the ship and kill everyone aboard. But why had the aliens waited 3 months to activate their weapon? Lisa Parker had an answer to that question, and it made everyone feel even worse. The aliens had not wanted to destroy the ship near Earth because that might have allowed humans to recover the wreckage and learn about the alien technology. By waiting until the ship was deep in space, the aliens could make sure that no trace of their sabotage would ever be found. Captain Jake Morrison looked at his officers and saw the fear in their eyes. They had less than 3 days to solve a problem. That involved technology they did not understand. The future of everyone on the ship, and possibly the entire human race, was depending on them finding a solution that might not even exist. The news about the alien device spread quickly through the ship, despite efforts to keep it secret. People were scared, and many wanted to know why their leaders had not found a way to remove the dangerous technology. Captain Jake Morrison called a meeting of everyone aboard to explain the situation and try to keep panic from spreading. Jake stood in the main assembly hall and looked out at 50,000 worried faces. He told them the truth about what they had found and explained that the best minds on the ship were working on a solution. Jake did not mention that they only had 2 days left before the device activated because he did not want to cause a riot. After the meeting, Dr. Lisa Parker and Ryan Tucker worked together to learn everything they could about alien technology. They studied every detail of the device using remote sensors and computer analysis. The more they learned, the more amazed they became at how advanced the alien science was. The device used something called quantum mechanics in ways that human scientists had only dreamed about. It could manipulate the basic forces that held matter together and create energy effects that seemed to break the laws of physics. Lisa realized that whoever built this technology was thousands of years ahead of human civilization. Ryan Tucker had a different way of looking at the problem. He was not interested in how advanced the aliens were, but in how their device actually worked. Ryan believed that any machine could be understood if you studied it long enough, and he was determined to figure out what the aliens had built. Working around the clock, Ryan and his engineering team mapped every connection and energy flow in the alien device. They discovered that it was designed to create what the aliens called a quantum cascade. When activated, the device would tear open holes in space itself and destroy everything within a huge area around the ship. But Ryan also found something the aliens had not expected humans to discover. The device was not just a weapon, it was also a key to understanding how alien technology worked. If they could study it without setting it off, they might be able to learn secrets that would change human science forever. Lisa Parker made an even more important discovery when she analyzed the signals the device was sending into space. The signals contained detailed information about human technology and the location of Earth. When the device activated, it would not just destroy the New Horizon, it would also tell other aliens exactly where to find humanity's home planet. This meant that even if some people on Earth survived the destruction of the New Horizon, the alien attack was just the beginning. The signals would guide alien fleets to Earth, and human civilization would be wiped out completely. The sabotage was not just meant to stop one ship, it was designed to end the human species. Sophie Blake had been thinking about the problem from a military perspective, and she had an idea that sounded crazy, but might actually work. Instead of trying to remove or disarm the alien device, they should try to turn it into a weapon they could use against their enemies. Sophie believed that the best defense was always a good offense. Ryan Tucker thought Sophie's idea was brilliant, but also incredibly dangerous. They would have to modify the alien device while it was still connected to the ship's power system. One mistake could activate the quantum cascade early and destroy them all. But Ryan also knew they were going to die anyway if they did nothing. Dr. Lisa Parker was excited by the possibility of studying alien technology up close, but she was also terrified of what might happen if they made a mistake. The quantum forces involved were powerful enough to tear apart entire planets, and they were talking about trying to control those forces with human technology that was thousands of years less advanced. Captain Jake Morrison listened to all the arguments and realized they had reached a point where any choice they made could lead to disaster. But doing nothing was definitely going to get them all killed, so he decided to authorize the most dangerous experiment in human history. They would try to reprogram an alien weapon while it was counting down to destroy them. The work began immediately, with teams of engineers and scientists working in shifts around the clock. They could not get too close to the device, so they had to build robotic tools that could make modifications from a safe distance. Every connection had to be perfect, because they would only get one chance to make their plan work. Ryan Tucker designed a way to connect human computer systems to the alien device without triggering its defensive mechanisms. The plan was to upload new programming that would change what happened when the countdown reached 0. Instead of destroying the ship, the device would hopefully do something that would help them survive. Lisa Parker worked on understanding the quantum mathematics that controlled the alien technology. She had to learn an entirely new kind of science in just 2 days and then figure out how to make it work with human computers. Lisa barely slept as she struggled to solve problems that the greatest scientists on Earth had never even imagined. As the deadline approached, everyone on the ship knew that something important was happening, even though most of them did not understand the details. Parents held their children closer, and people gathered in groups to comfort each other. Some prayed to various gods, while others just tried to stay busy and not think about death. With 6 hours left before activation, Ryan Tucker made the final connections between the human computers and the alien device. Lights flickered throughout the ship as massive amounts of power flowed through circuits that had never been designed to handle such energy. The air itself seemed to vibrate with invisible forces. Lisa Parker uploaded her new programming into the alien device and watched as human mathematics tried to blend with alien science. For a moment, nothing happened, and she was afraid that their plan had failed completely. Then the device began to change in ways that no one had expected. The countdown continued, but the energy pattern shifted into configurations that were completely different from what the aliens had programmed. The device was still going to activate in a few hours, but now no one knew exactly what would happen when it did. They had succeeded in modifying the alien weapon, but they had also created something entirely new and potentially even more dangerous than the original sabotage. When the countdown reached 0, everyone on the New Horizon held their breath and waited to die. The alien device activated exactly as programmed, but instead of destroying the ship, something wonderful and terrifying happened. A wave of energy flowed through every system and every room, changing everything it touched in ways that no one could have predicted. The first change people noticed was in the lights. Every bulb and panel throughout the ship began glowing brighter and cleaner than before. The light felt different, somehow warmer and more alive than the artificial illumination they were used to. Children stopped crying and looked around in wonder as their world became more beautiful than it had ever been. In the reactor room, Ryan Tucker watched in amazement as his instruments showed impossible readings. The fusion core was producing 3 times more power than it should have been able to generate. But instead of overheating or breaking down, the entire system was running smoother and more efficiently than ever before. The alien technology had not destroyed their power source, it had made it better. Dr. Lisa Parker ran through the corridors toward her laboratory because she wanted to check on her biological experiments. What she found there made her stop and stare, in complete shock. The plants she had been growing for food production had changed dramatically in just a few minutes. They were larger and healthier than before, and some of them were glowing with soft, natural light. The wheat plants that had been growing slowly in artificial soil were now tall and strong, with grain heads that looked perfect. The vegetables had grown to full size and were ready for harvest, even though they had been planted only a few weeks ago. But the most amazing thing was that some plants were now producing light of their own, like living lamps. Captain Jake Morrison felt the changes in his own body as the energy wave passed through him. His mind seemed clearer, and his thoughts moved faster than they ever had before. He could see connections between ideas that had never occurred to him and solve problems that would have taken him hours to figure out before the change. Sophie Blake was in the security center when she noticed that all the ship's sensors were working better than they had been designed to work. The cameras could see farther and more clearly, while the computer systems processed information faster than should have been possible. It was as if the entire ship had been upgraded with technology that did not exist. Throughout the ship, people were discovering that they could think more clearly and move more quickly than before. Parents found they could understand their children better, while students learned new subjects faster than their teachers could present them. The quantum energy was changing human biology in subtle but important ways. Ryan Tucker ran tests on every system aboard the New Horizon and found that everything was working better than it had when they left Earth. The engines were more powerful, the computers were faster, and even the air recycling systems were more efficient. The ship that had been built with the best human technology was now enhanced with alien science. Dr. Lisa Parker made an incredible discovery when she examined her own blood under a microscope. Her cells were different now, containing structures that had not been there before the energy wave. The changes were small, but they seemed to be making her body stronger and more resistant to disease and radiation. The most surprising change was discovered by the navigation team. The ship's location sensors were picking up information that should have been impossible to detect. They could now see pathways through space that connected distant stars like invisible highways. The quantum field was letting them perceive dimensions of reality that humans had never known existed. Sophie Blake realized that the ship had become invisible to normal detection methods. Any aliens looking for them with conventional sensors would not be able to find the New Horizon because the quantum field was bending light and energy around them in impossible ways. They had accidentally created the perfect stealth technology. As days passed, the changes continued to develop and grow stronger. The children on the ship adapted to the improvements faster than the adults and seemed to understand the new technology instinctively. They began helping their parents solve problems and suggesting improvements that made everything work even better. The food production areas became gardens of incredible beauty and productivity. Plants grew without soil, using only light and air to create perfect fruits and vegetables. The quantum field had taught the plants how to transform energy directly into food in ways that defied everything humans knew about biology. Ryan Tucker discovered that the ship could now travel much faster than the speed of light without using the hyperspace engines they had originally planned to rely on. The quantum field was creating tunnels through space that allowed them to move between distant points almost instantly. Their journey to the new planet would take weeks instead of years. Lisa Parker found that her research equipment could now analyze things at the molecular level with perfect accuracy. She could understand alien biology and chemistry as easily as human science because the quantum field was translating complex information directly into her mind. Knowledge that should have taken decades to acquire was becoming available in hours. The communication systems began picking up signals from across the galaxy, including messages from civilizations that humans had never known existed. But more. Importantly, they could now send their own messages instantly to any point in space. The New Horizon had become the most advanced communication station in known space. Captain Jake Morrison realized that they were no longer just colonists traveling to a distant planet. The modifications to the alien device had transformed them into something new and more capable than baseline humanity had ever been. They were becoming the bridge between human determination and alien technology. The ship's computers began displaying star maps that showed the locations of thousands of inhabited worlds throughout the galaxy. The quantum field was downloading information from alien databases and translating it into forms that humans could understand. They now knew more about galactic civilization than any human had ever dreamed possible. As the New Horizon approached their destination planet, the crew prepared for landing with capabilities they had never imagined they would possess. They were no longer refugees from Earth seeking a new home, but pioneers of a new form of human existence that combined the best of two completely different technologies. The alien Sabotage had failed completely and had instead given humanity the tools they needed to become a major power in galactic civilization. The Zephyrians had tried to end human expansion, but had accidentally started a transformation that would change the balance of power throughout the known universe. The planet Kepler 442b appeared on the New Horizon's screens like a blue and green jewel floating in the darkness of space. After their incredible transformation during the journey, the colonists were eager to start building their new home. But, as they approached the planet, Captain Jake Morrison made a discovery that changed everything about their mission. The planet was not empty as they had expected. Alien ships were waiting in orbit around their destination, and these were not friendly. Visitors coming to welcome them. The vessels were clearly military, and they were positioned in attack formations around the planet. Someone had been expecting the New Horizon to arrive. Sophie Blake analyzed the alien fleet using the ship's enhanced sensors and realized they were looking at Zephyrian warships. The same aliens who had sabotaged their journey were now waiting to finish the job they had started. The Zephyrians had expected to find wreckage floating in space, but instead they found a ship that was more advanced than anything they had ever seen. Dr. Lisa Parker used the new quantum communication systems to intercept messages between the alien ships. The Zephyrians were confused and frightened because their sabotage device was supposed to have destroyed the human ship months ago. Instead of finding debris, they were facing a vessel that their sensors could barely detect and their computers could not understand. The Zephyrian fleet commander sent a message to the New Horizon demanding that they surrender immediately. He threatened to destroy the ship and everyone aboard if the humans did not submit to Zephyrian authority. The message was transmitted in several alien languages, but the ship's enhanced computers translated everything perfectly. Captain Jake Morrison called a meeting of all senior officers to decide how to respond to the alien threat. The Zephyrians had tried to murder 50,000 innocent people, and now they were demanding surrender as if humans had done something wrong. Jake was angry, but he was also curious about what their enhanced ship could do against alien military technology. Ryan Tucker had been studying the ship's new capabilities, and he believed they could defeat the Zephyrian fleet without firing a single weapon. The quantum field that surrounded the New Horizon could be used to disable alien systems just by getting close to them. The same technology that had enhanced human equipment would disrupt and confuse alien machines. Sophie Blake liked the idea of turning alien technology against itself, but she also wanted to capture some of the Zephyrian ships intact. If they could study alien military hardware, they might learn about other threats facing humanity. The enhanced humans were learning so fast that they could probably master alien science in a matter of days. Dr. Lisa Parker suggested something even more ambitious. The quantum field had given her the ability to analyze alien biology, and she had discovered something interesting about Zephyrian physiology. The aliens were vulnerable to certain frequencies of energy that would not harm humans at all. They could disable the alien crews without destroying their ships. The plan they developed was unlike anything that had ever been attempted in the history of warfare. Instead of attacking with weapons, they would use the New Horizons quantum field to systematically shut down every alien ship in the fleet. The Zephyrians would be left floating helplessly in space while the humans studied their technology and decided what to do with them. Captain Jake Morrison sent a reply to the Zephyrian fleet commander that was polite but firm. He thanked the aliens for their concern, but explained that humans would be colonizing the planet as planned. He also mentioned that the New Horizon had some new capabilities that the aliens might find interesting to observe. The Zephyrian response was immediate and predictable. Every ship in their fleet opened fire with energy weapons that should have been powerful enough to destroy any human vessel. Bright beams of deadly radiation converged on the New Horizon from a dozen different directions as the aliens tried to eliminate the threat to their galactic dominance. But the quantum field around the human ship absorbed the alien weapons and converted their energy into power for the ship's own systems. The more the Zephyrians fired, the stronger the New Horizon became. What should have been a devastating attack instead became a source of additional energy that made the human ship even more formidable. Ryan Tucker activated the quantum field projectors and sent waves of energy toward the alien fleet. The invisible force swept over the Zephyrian ships and began disrupting their electrical systems. Lights flickered and went out as alien computers crashed and weapons systems failed. Within minutes, the entire enemy fleet was floating dead in space. Sophie Blake led teams of enhanced humans who used small ships to board the disabled alien vessels. The Zephyrians were unconscious, but alive, affected by the quantum frequencies that Dr. Lisa Parker had discovered. The boarding parties quickly secured the alien ships and began downloading their computer databases. The information they found in the alien computers was both fascinating and disturbing. The Zephyrians had been preventing younger species from expanding into space for over 1,000 years. They believed that only mature civilizations should be allowed to travel between stars, and they had destroyed dozens of species who tried to explore the galaxy too early. But the most important discovery was a complete map of Zephyrian space, showing the locations of their military bases and the worlds they controlled. The aliens had built an empire that spanned hundreds of star systems, but they had also made many enemies among the species they had conquered or destroyed. Dr. Lisa Parker found records of other young civilizations that had been attacked by the Zephyrians in recent years. Some had been completely wiped out, while others had been forced back to their home planets and forbidden to develop space travel. The galaxy was full of species that had been held back by Zephyrian interference. Captain Jake Morrison realized that humanity had stumbled into a galactic conflict that was much larger than their own struggle for survival. The enhanced humans were now the most technologically advanced species in known space, but they were also surrounded by enemies who had been oppressing other civilizations for centuries. The solution came from an unexpected source when several of the captured Zephyrian officers woke up and asked to speak with the human leaders. These aliens were not the fanatic warriors that the humans had expected, but scientists and explorers who had been forced to serve in the military. They were tired of their government's policies and wanted to help create a better future for the galaxy. Working together, the humans and their new Zephyrian allies began sending quantum messages to oppressed species throughout the galaxy. They shared the technology that had transformed the New Horizon and offered to help other civilizations break free from Zephyrian control. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, ships from dozens of different species began arriving at Kepler 442b. They came seeking alliance with the humans who had turned alien sabotage into the greatest technological breakthrough in galactic history. The planet that was supposed to be a simple human colony became the center of a revolution that would reshape the entire galaxy. The Zephyrian sabotage had not just failed, it had created the very thing they feared most. Humanity had not only survived their attack, but had become powerful enough to challenge the established order and offer hope to every oppressed species in known space. News of humanity's victory over the Zephyrian fleet spread across the galaxy faster than anyone had thought possible. The quantum communication network that Dr. Lisa Parker had discovered allowed instant contact between star systems that were thousands of light-years apart. Species that had been isolated by Zephyrian oppression for centuries suddenly found themselves able to talk to each other again. Captain Jake Morrison found himself becoming the unofficial leader of a growing alliance of free worlds. Representatives from dozens of different species arrived at Kepler 442b every day, asking for help against their Zephyrian oppressors. The human colony that had been planned as a simple farming settlement was rapidly becoming the most important political center in the galaxy. The planet itself was changing in amazing ways as the quantum field from the New Horizons spread across the surface. Plants grew faster and stronger than they ever had before, while the air became cleaner and more breathable for many different alien species. Even the weather seemed to be improving, as if the planet was adapting itself to welcome visitors from across the stars. Ryan Tucker worked around the clock with engineers from a dozen different species to build manufacturing facilities that could produce quantum field generators for other ships. The technology that had enhanced the New Horizon could be shared with anyone who wanted to break free from Zephyrian control, but it took time and skill to build the devices properly. Dr. Lisa Parker discovered that each alien species reacted differently to the quantum field enhancement. Some became stronger and smarter like the humans, while others developed completely new abilities that their biology had never shown before. A few species found that the quantum energy allowed them to communicate telepathically or see into other dimensions of reality. Sophie Blake organized the growing fleet of enhanced ships into an effective military force. The Alliance now had vessels from 30 different species and more were arriving every week. Each ship brought its own technology and fighting methods, but they all shared the quantum enhancements that made them superior to anything the Zephyrians could field. The first major test of the new alliance came when Zephyrian reinforcements arrived to retake the planet. A massive fleet of over 100 warships dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find a small human colony that could be easily destroyed. Instead, they found themselves facing an alliance fleet that was larger and more advanced than anything they had ever seen. The battle was over before it really began. The enhanced alliance ships moved through space in ways that defied physics, while their quantum fields disrupted every Zephyrian weapon that tried to target them. Within hours, the entire enemy fleet was disabled and floating helplessly while their crews tried to figure out what had happened to their supposedly superior technology. But Captain Jake Morrison decided not to destroy the defeated Zephyrian fleet. Instead, he ordered boarding parties to rescue the alien crews and bring them to the planet for medical treatment. Many of the Zephyrian soldiers were shocked to find themselves being helped by the same species they had been sent to destroy. The rescued Zephyrians were given the choice of returning home or joining the alliance that was forming around humanity. Most chose to stay because they were tired of serving a government that forced them to attack innocent civilizations. These defectors brought valuable information about Zephyrian military plans and the locations of their major bases. Dr. Lisa Parker made another breakthrough when she figured out how to use the quantum field to heal injuries and diseases that had been considered incurable. Alien refugees who arrived at the planet suffering from radiation poisoning or genetic damage found themselves restored to perfect health within days of exposure to the enhanced environment. The medical advances attracted even more species to the Alliance as word spread that humans had discovered the secret of quantum healing. Entire worlds that had been devastated by war or environmental disasters sent representatives asking for help. The planet that had been intended for 50,000 human colonists was now home to millions of beings from across the galaxy. Ryan Tucker and his multinational engineering teams achieved another breakthrough when they learned how to create permanent quantum fields around entire planets. Any world that received this enhancement would become a paradise where life flourished and technology advanced at incredible speeds. The Alliance began offering this gift to any species that wanted to join their growing coalition, the Zephyrian. Government was becoming desperate as more and more of their subject worlds declared independence and requested Alliance protection. The empire that had controlled much of the galaxy for 1,000 years was crumbling as enhanced Alliance fleets arrived to liberate oppressed populations throughout their territory. Sophie Blake led a series of lightning strikes against Zephyrian military bases using tactics that combined human creativity with alien technology. The enhanced Alliance forces could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours, and their quantum fields made them nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. Base after base fell to the liberation forces as the Zephyrian Empire collapsed. The political structure of the galaxy was changing as fast as the military situation. Species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves working together against their common oppressor. Old grievances were forgotten as enhanced beings from different worlds discovered they had more in common than they had ever imagined. Captain Jake Morrison received a message from the Zephyrian High Council requesting negotiations for a ceasefire. The alien leaders who had ordered the sabotage of the New Horizon were now begging for mercy from the species they had tried to destroy. Jake agreed to meet with them, but he insisted that the talks be held on neutral ground, with representatives from all Alliance species present. The negotiations revealed just how completely the balance of power had shifted in the galaxy. The Zephyrians admitted that their empire was finished and asked only that their homeworlds be spared from invasion. They offered to share their scientific knowledge and provide reparations to the species they had oppressed in exchange for being allowed to exist peacefully. Dr. Lisa Parker studied the Zephyrian offer carefully and made a surprising recommendation. She suggested that the Alliance should accept the surrender and offer quantum enhancement to the Zephyrian people themselves. The same technology that had transformed humanity could help the Zephyrians become better beings who would never again try to dominate others. The decision to enhance their former enemies was controversial, but it proved to be wise. Zephyrians who received quantum field treatment became more empathetic and creative while losing the aggressive tendencies that had made them galactic bullies. Within months, many former Zephyrian warriors were working alongside their former victims to repair the damage their empire had caused. The galaxy entered a new golden age as enhanced civilizations shared knowledge and resources freely. Scientific advances that should have taken centuries were achieved in years as different species combined their expertise with quantum-enhanced intelligence. Art and culture flourished as beings from different worlds found new ways to express their creativity. The human colony on Kepler 442b became the unofficial capital of this new galactic civilization. The planet where 50,000 people had planned to start a simple farming community was now the center of an alliance that included millions of worlds and trillions of enhanced beings working together to build a better future for everyone. 5 years had passed since the New Horizon arrived at Kepler 442b, and the galaxy was now a completely different place. The quantum enhancement technology that had saved humanity from alien sabotage was spreading to new worlds every day. Captain Jake Morrison often stood on the observation deck of his ship and marveled at how much everything had changed. The planet below him was barely recognizable as the same world they had found 5 years ago. Cities of incredible beauty stretched across the continents while forests of enhanced plants grew taller and more vibrant than anything that had existed in nature. The sky was filled with ships from hundreds of different species coming and going on missions of exploration and discovery. Dr. Lisa Parker had become the galaxy's leading expert on quantum biology, and her research was transforming medicine throughout known space. She had discovered that the quantum field could do more than just heal injuries and diseases. It could actually improve the basic design of living creatures. Evolution that normally took millions of years could now be guided and accelerated to help species adapt to new environments. The children who had been born on the enhanced planet were growing up with abilities that amazed even their enhanced parents. They could communicate with alien species intuitively and solve mathematical problems that challenged the most advanced computers. But more importantly, they seemed to understand naturally that all living beings were connected and deserved to be treated with respect. Ryan Tucker had moved beyond simple engineering to become something like a technological wizard. He could take broken alien machines and not only repair them but improve them in ways their original creators had never imagined. His workshops were filled with devices that combined the best features of dozens of different technological traditions. The most exciting development was the discovery of new dimensions of space that could only be reached using quantum field technology. Exploration ships were finding entire regions of the universe that contained forms of matter and energy unknown to conventional science. These discoveries were leading to advances in physics that made previous scientific knowledge seem primitive. Sophie Blake now commanded a peacekeeping force that included enhanced beings from over 200 different species. But instead of fighting wars, they spent most of their time helping civilizations that were just beginning to develop space travel. The Alliance had decided that instead of waiting for species to discover quantum enhancement on their own, they would share the technology freely with anyone ready to use it responsibly. The transformation of the Zephyrians had been one of the greatest successes of the new galactic order. The species that had once been feared throughout the galaxy was now contributing some of the most important scientific discoveries. Enhanced Zephyrians had developed new forms of quantum mathematics that made faster-than-light travel easier and safer for everyone. But the most remarkable change was happening to humanity itself. The quantum field had not only enhanced human intelligence and physical abilities, it had also awakened something deeper in human nature. People were becoming more creative and compassionate while losing many of the fears and hatreds that had troubled their species for thousands of years. Captain Jake Morrison received reports every day about human explorers who were making contact with civilizations in distant parts of the galaxy. These humans carried quantum field generators with them and offered enhancement to any species that wanted to join the growing alliance. The response was almost always positive because the benefits of the technology were obvious to anyone who witnessed them. Dr. Lisa Parker made another breakthrough when she learned how to use quantum fields to preserve and restore damaged ecosystems. Planets that had been strip-mined or polluted by industrial development could be returned to pristine condition within months. Dead worlds could be brought back to life and made suitable for colonization by any species that needed a new home. The economic system of the galaxy was changing as dramatically as everything else. When any world could produce unlimited energy and grow perfect food using quantum enhancement, the old ideas about scarcity and competition became meaningless. Instead of fighting over resources, civilizations were competing to see who could be most generous in sharing their discoveries with others. Ryan Tucker and his teams had perfected the art of building quantum field generators that could last for thousands of years without maintenance. They were installing these devices on worlds throughout the galaxy, creating a network of enhanced planets that would serve as stepping stones for future exploration. Every enhanced world became a beacon of hope for species that were still struggling with conventional technology. The Alliance had grown so large that it was becoming difficult to govern using traditional methods. Captain Jake Morrison worked with leaders from major species to develop new forms of democracy that took advantage of quantum-enhanced communication. Beings from different worlds could now participate directly in decisions that affected the entire galaxy. Sophie Blake's peacekeeping forces faced a new challenge when they encountered the first truly hostile alien species since the Zephyrian, surrender. These beings called themselves the Devourers, and they seemed to exist only to consume and destroy other forms of life. Even worse, they appeared to be immune to quantum field effects that worked on every other known species. The war against the Devourers tested the Alliance in ways that the conflict with the Zephyrians never had. These enemies could not be reasoned with or converted to a better way of thinking. They attacked without warning and showed no mercy to civilians. For the first time since the enhancement began, the Alliance faced an enemy that might actually be able to defeat them. Dr. Lisa Parker studied captured Devourer specimens and made a disturbing discovery. These beings were not natural evolution but artificial constructs created by some unknown intelligence. Someone or something had built the Devourers specifically to fight against quantum-enhanced civilizations. The Alliance was facing an enemy that had been designed to counter their greatest advantages. The discovery that the Devourers were artificial weapons raised terrifying questions about who had created them and why. Captain Jake Morrison organized exploration missions to trace the origin of the hostile constructs. What they found was evidence of an ancient civilization that had once ruled the galaxy before mysteriously disappearing millions of years ago. Ryan Tucker analyzed Devourer technology and realized that it was based on the same quantum principles that powered Alliance ships, but twisted in ways that made it destructive rather than creative. Someone had taken the technology of enhancement and perverted it into a force for annihilation. The implications of this discovery sent shockwaves through the Alliance leadership. The ancient enemy that had created the Devourers was still out there somewhere, and they were apparently watching the Alliance grow stronger. The quantum enhancement that had saved humanity from Zephyrian sabotage might have also attracted the attention of something far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever faced. As reports came in of more Devourer attacks on Alliance worlds, Captain Jake Morrison realized that their golden age of peace and prosperity might be coming to an end. The technology that had made them the most powerful civilization in known space had also made them a target for forces that were older and more mysterious than anyone had imagined. The discovery that the Devourers were artificial weapons changed everything about how the Alliance viewed their place in the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison called an emergency meeting of all Alliance leaders to discuss the threat posed by whatever ancient intelligence had created these destructive beings. The gathering included representatives from over 300 species, and it was held on Kepler 442b, where the quantum field was strongest. Dr. Lisa Parker presented her research on Devourer, biology and technology to the assembled leaders. She explained that these artificial beings were not just weapons but probes designed to test the capabilities of any civilization that developed quantum enhancement technology. Whoever had built them was studying the Alliance and learning about their strengths and weaknesses. The most disturbing part of Lisa's report was her discovery that the Devourers were getting stronger with each attack. They were adapting to Alliance tactics and developing new ways to counter quantum field effects. This suggested that their creators were receiving detailed information about every battle and using it to improve their weapons. Ryan Tucker had been working with captured Devourer technology, and he had made a breakthrough that both excited and terrified him. The artificial beings contained data storage devices that held information about dozens of other civilizations that had developed quantum enhancement in the past. All of these civilizations had been destroyed by successive waves of increasingly sophisticated Devourer attacks. The pattern was always the same. A young species would discover quantum enhancement and use it to build a peaceful galactic civilization. This would attract the attention of the ancient intelligence, which would send Devourers to test their defenses. When the Devourers learned enough about their targets, a final wave of attacks would destroy the enhanced civilization completely. Sophie Blake studied the tactical data from previous civilizations and realized that the Alliance was following the exact same path that had led to the destruction of dozens of other species. They were building a large, peaceful empire that was technologically advanced but not prepared for total war against an enemy that had been perfecting its methods for millions of years. The Alliance leaders spent days debating how to respond to this threat. Some wanted to abandon quantum enhancement technology and return to conventional science in hopes that this would make them less attractive targets. Others argued for building massive military forces and preparing for an all-out war against the ancient enemy. Captain Jake Morrison listened to all the arguments, but he kept thinking about the human response to the original Zephyrian sabotage. Humanity had succeeded not by following conventional wisdom, but by finding creative solutions that their enemies had never anticipated. He believed that the same approach might work against the ancient intelligence behind the Devourers, Dr. Lisa. Parker proposed something that sounded impossible, but might be their only hope for survival. Instead of waiting for the ancient enemy to attack them, she suggested that the Alliance should try to make contact and attempt communication. The quantum field technology gave them abilities that previous civilizations had never possessed, and this might allow them to reach across space and time to find their mysterious adversary. The plan that emerged from the Alliance discussions was ambitious beyond anything that had ever been attempted. They would use the combined quantum fields of hundreds of enhanced worlds to create a signal powerful enough to reach anywhere in the galaxy. This signal would carry a message of peace and an offer to share quantum enhancement technology freely with whoever was behind the Devourer attacks. Ryan Tucker worked with the greatest minds from dozens of species to build the transmitter array that would carry their message across the galaxy. The device required the combined output of 50 enhanced worlds, and it would take months to construct and calibrate properly. During this time, the Devourer attacks continued, and Alliance worlds fell one by one to increasingly sophisticated artificial beings. The message they finally sent was simple but profound. It explained how humanity had accidentally discovered quantum enhancement through alien sabotage, and how they had chosen to share this gift with other species instead of using it for conquest. The Alliance offered to work together with the ancient intelligence to find better ways to guide the development of younger civilizations. For weeks after the transmission, there was no response, and many Alliance leaders began to fear that their message had been ignored or misunderstood. The Devourer attacks continued, and it seemed that their attempt at communication had failed completely. Some worlds began preparing for evacuation, while others rushed to build stronger defenses. Then something unprecedented happened. All Devourer activity stopped simultaneously across the entire galaxy. Ships that had been in the middle of attacking Alliance worlds suddenly powered down and drifted motionless in space. The artificial beings that had seemed unstoppable were now floating helplessly as if they had been switched off by some remote command. 3 days after the Devourers stopped attacking, a new signal reached Alliance space. It was transmitted using quantum field technology that was far more advanced than anything the Alliance possessed, but the message was clear and understandable. The ancient intelligence was finally ready to make contact with the species that had discovered quantum enhancement through alien sabotage. The being that communicated with them called itself the Guardian, and it explained that it had been watching over the galaxy for millions of years. Its purpose was to test young civilizations that developed quantum enhancement to make sure they were wise enough to use such powerful technology responsibly. Most species had failed this test and been destroyed to prevent them from becoming threats to galactic peace. But humanity and their alliance had responded differently than any previous civilization. Instead of using quantum enhancement to build weapons and conquer their neighbors, they had shared the technology freely and worked to improve life for all species. This was exactly the kind of wisdom that the Guardian had been hoping to find in a younger civilization. The Guardian revealed that it was the last survivor of the first species to develop quantum enhancement millions of years ago. Its people had made the mistake of using their technology for war and had nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy before they realized their error. The Guardian had spent the rest of its existence making sure that no other species would repeat their mistakes. Captain Jake Morrison was chosen to represent the Alliance in formal negotiations with the Guardian. The ancient being offered to share technology that was far beyond anything the Alliance had imagined possible. In return, it asked only that humanity and their allies accept responsibility for guiding and testing future civilizations that discovered quantum enhancement. Dr. Lisa Parker was amazed by the scientific knowledge that the Guardian possessed. The Eye. Ancient being had spent millions of years perfecting quantum field technology, and its understanding of the universe was deeper than anything Alliance scientists had dreamed of. With this knowledge, they could solve problems and explore possibilities that had seemed impossible. The agreement they reached with the Guardian marked the beginning of a new age for the galaxy. The Alliance would become the new guardians of Galactic, civilization with the responsibility of helping younger species develop quantum enhancement safely. The threat of the Devourers was over, but an even greater adventure was just beginning. Ryan Tucker and his teams began studying Guardian technology and applying it to Alliance ships and worlds. The quantum fields that had once seemed miraculous now appeared primitive compared to what was possible with millions of years of additional development. The Alliance was about to become something far greater than anyone had ever imagined. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear and oppression was now entering an age of unlimited possibility. The alien Sabotage that had been intended to destroy humanity had instead led to the greatest transformation in galactic history. The species that had turned Sabotage into salvation would now help guide the evolution of civilization itself across the stars.